Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Tristan. I'm from Truffle Events and I'm here at Cameron Interiors, and we're going to show you a really lovely sea bass dish using the Bora Professional. We're going to use a frying pan here to cook our sea bass to absolute perfection with a lovely crispy skin and everything. We're going to use the teppanyaki plate here as well. With a slight twist, we're going to cook some bok choy on here. We're actually going to get some colour on the bok choy, but we're going to use a frying pan upside down over the top to sort of steam it as well. Okay. So first thing we want to do is a nice frying pan. We're going to use the induction here, and I'm going to turn it up quite high to start with. I'm going to put it up to number 8 just to start with and get a nice bit of heat into the pan. We're going to cook the sea bass fillet here. Skin side down into the pan. Now, you'll notice my pan here, there's no non-stick or anything. Now, you do not need a non-stick pan. What you do need is a lot of heat, okay? Because it's heat that stops things from sticking. So we're going to put the skin side of the fish straight onto this pan. Use a little tiny touch of oil, okay? And we're going to leave it skin side down for 90% of its cooking time, okay? When you're cooking a piece of sea bass like this, what I've done already to this is just patted it dry with a little bit of kitchen roll. Because any moisture, any water, that's going to start to stick a little bit. So the drier it is, the less likely it is to stick in your pan. The most important thing is actually heat in your pan. Now, hovering my hand over the top here, I can just feel a bit of warmth starting to come up. It's not quite there yet, so I'm just going to give that a minute. Now, to go with our sea bass, we've got some ginger and some spring onions. Okay, what I'm going to do while this is heating up is I'm just going to cut a few pieces off of the ginger. In fact, I'll give you a wee tip. Can't speak. Peeling ginger, use a spoon. Now, a lot of people use a potato peeler or a knife, and you waste a lot of ginger. Now, with a spoon, just literally scrape the skin off, and all you're doing is removing the skin and not any of the ginger. Get rid of that. And there we go, you've got your peeled ginger. Now all I'm going to do is a couple of thin slices. Okay. I think that will probably do. And then those slices I'm going to cut crossways and make little, what we call julienne, or little matchsticks. I'm going to just cut those this way. Now while I'm doing this, my frying pan is still warming up. Okay? So we want to keep it close on. Is that lovely ginger? I'm going to hold my hand over the top. Okay, now a really good way to see if your pan is hot is you could do the dancing marble trick. Okay? Now if you've got a hot pan and you put a little tiny splash of water into your pan, the pan's so hot, the water can't sit still, and what it's doing is it's just literally dancing around the pan, and that tells me I've got a really nice hot pan. Okay, just a little bit of dancing marble. Right. Now, before you put any oil in the pan, you need to make sure that you get rid of any water out of the pan. High heat. We've got our extraction here, so we're going to turn this right the way up. Small splash of oil, don't need lots, just a little bit of oil. You can see that straight away. I'm going to put our fish in, skin side down, just hold it there for a moment. See that working, taking away all of the smells of fish, all of the smoke, taking that away from the kitchen. Now I've started that high, I'm now going to turn it down a little bit, so we were on 8. I'm now turning it down to number 6. Okay? Turning that down to number 6. Get rid of the plate, put the fish on. You get a clean plate, and then give my hands a quick rinse. Now, the temptation is to play with the piece of fish, to poke it, to prod it, to move it around. We don't really want to do any of that at all. What we want to do is leave it alone. Initially, the fish will stick to the pan. Leaving it alone for a moment or two, and just give it a little push. You can see that my fish is still stuck. It's not moving. We need to leave it a little bit longer. Okay? and we'll allow that skin to nicely crisp up. When the skin's crisp up, it's got a nice caramelization, it will just lift off. Alright, we've got rid of all of that smoke, so that's good. So while that's going, as I said, we're going to do 90% of the cooking of the fish skin side down. Okay, so see this piece of fish here, and you can see a little line going across the fish. And as the piece of fish cooks, you see that cooked fish as it raises up through the meat. Once it hits that line, you know then that we're about to ready to turn it over. Okay, so we're going to leave it skin side down until that cooked fish comes up to that line, then we can turn it over. Alright? Still a little bit stuck. We might need to give it a little tiny bit of persuasion. There we go. That's it. Okay, it's non-stuck. We can move that around the pan quite nicely. Alright? So we'll let it do its thing, let that crisp up. Okay? Now, to go with the fish, we've got some spring onions here. Now what I'm going to do with spring onions is just take the tops off, like this, and I'm just going to cut them into nice slices, just on the angle. Okay? Now we're not going to use too much of the darker green bit of the spring onion because that's quite bitter. What we want is just a nice green bit. We'll remove the white part. We'll cut through the nice light green colour until we get to that dark bit, which we'll get rid of. Okay, get rid of those. We've got our nice spring onions in there. Now our fish is nicely cooking, and it's cooking slowly coming up to that line. Now we've turned this induction hob down, we've got it down to number 6, so it's not too fierce, but it's just enough to give us that lovely crispy sear. Okay. Once the fish is pretty much there, I'm going to take it out of the pan and sit it on this clean plate. I'm going to use my ginger and my spring onions into the pan. We're going to add a little bit of soy sauce into the pan. I'm also going to add some butter in there as well. Okay, and we'll make a little sauce, cook that down, and then we'll put the fish back in the pan just to get some of that sauce around the top. And to go with this, I've got some lovely bok choy. Okay, now keep a close eye on our fish, but what I'm going to do with bok choy is very simply just cut it in half. And I've given this a very quick rinse just to get rid of any grit or anything like that from it. Alright. I'm going to give this a little tiny bit of oil. Now not a lot, just a very, very tiny little bit, a few drips. Because we're going to cook this on the teppanyaki. Okay. And we'll just massage that oil into there. While I'm doing this, I'm looking at my fish all the time, and I can see that opaque fish there almost up to that line, and that's telling me that I'm pretty much ready to turn this fish over. But I don't want to turn the fish over until I've got the sauce in the pan. So what I'm going to do, very, very simply, is take that out, sit it on a pan, and I'll put it back in a moment. Okay? So we'll come back to that in a minute. Got our teppanyaki turned on. Now I've got this at about 190, it's not too hot, okay? And what we're going to do here is just pop our bok choy onto the teppanyaki, okay? You can hear that lovely sizzle. Now to cook this, we need some form of moisture, we're going to steam it, okay? You could quite happily just fry it, absolutely fine, no problem at all. We're going to use an upside pan over the top of it, just to create a little bit of steam, so we need a little touch of moisture, and that's going to come in the form of sushi seasoning. Now, sushi seasoning you can buy in bottles like this, or you can make your own. It's a mixture of mirin, rice wine vinegar, and sometimes a little bit of sugar in there as well. Okay? And all we're going to do is just create a little bit of steam and put our pan over the top. Okay. Now I've set the handle aside, so the handle sit on a hot teppanyaki plate, and we're just going to leave that and allow that to steam underneath the pan. I'm going to finish it with some black sesame seeds, so I'm going to put those right there to remind me to put them. Okay. Now, back to our fish. Our fish is happily sitting there. So, pan back on the heat. I'm going to put a little bit of my ginger. Now, depending how much you like ginger, you can put a little bit, or you can put a lot in there. I quite like ginger, so I've got to get it going in there. I've got my spring onions going in there as well. Okay. And what we're going to do here is just give them a nice little bit of a cook, just to soften them down. I've got a spatula here. Give them a little bit of a stir. Now we don't have to completely soften all the way down. We want a little bit of crunch, but what we want to do is we want to release the flavours. Okay. Just get a nice aroma, and already really start to smell. It smells amazing. Now you could do the fish on the teppanyaki plate as well. Absolutely lovely way of doing it. All depends on how you want to do it. The reason I'm not doing it on the teppanyaki plate is because I'm going to put some soy sauce in here, and that can go all over the place, especially when you're doing your bok choy. So we're going to add a good glove of soy sauce to this. There we go, nice amount of soy sauce, and we're just going to cook this down a little. Actually, let's cook it down a little. And all this steam coming off here, that's with the water evaporating out of this. Okay? So I'm going to put a little touch of pepper in there. And I'm going to put this butter in there as well. It's not a common figure in an Asian dish like this. I think the butter, the saltiness of the soy sauce, okay, flavour of ginger, spring onion, I think it works lovely together. Now I'm going to have a quick look to see what's happening with my bok choy. We'll take this lid off. Look at those. Absolutely super. I'm just going to turn those over. And put that back on top of it. I'm going to let that carry on. Okay? Now, as that butter's nicely melted, mix all of those flavours together. This is such a quick and easy dish to do. I want to have a little taste just to see what we've got. A really intense, salty ginger flavour. Now, I'm going to turn this down because I just want to keep it warm. I don't want to keep evaporating it too far. If we evaporate too much water out of this, it becomes really salty, really intense. If that happens, you can just put a splash of water back into it. Because all you've done is evaporated too much water out, so you can simply put that water back in. Okay? Now, my piece of fish, you can see it's pretty much cooked apart from that top middle layer. Now, we've got a lovely crispy skin, so I do not want to put a crispy skin in the liquid. So I'm going to turn it over and just finish the cooking of that piece of fish like that in that lovely sauce. Okay? And it won't take long at all. Now, this I think we're good. We can take this off. We can turn it off. We've got our lovely bok choy, a nice bit of colour, a nice bit of flavour, and I've got some black sesame seeds here. Hands are really clean. All I'm going to do is just a little bit of black sesame seeds. And we'll do this while they're still on, because I want to lightly toast those sesame seeds through as well. Just coat that. Fantastic. That's us done, guys. Very, very quick, very, very simple dish. Now, I have a wee plate. We give this a wee wipe down. I'm going to sip my lovely bok choy on top there. Now my fish here, which we cooked 90% of the way skin side down. We've got a lovely crispy skin. Okay, so we're just going to sit that piece of fish on the side of the plate there, and then all of this ginger, spring onion, soy sauce, butter, and a little bit of pepper, and we're just going to literally sit that on the edge like this. Just maybe a little tiny bit of sauce just around. There you have guys. A lovely, simple, very, very quick sea bass, ginger, spring onion, soy, and we've got our bok choy done with teppanyaki, with half steamed, half glazed, and with access of seeds.